Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about a very interesting chart and person that I find was probably one of the most prolific men of his times, and it is Carl Gustav Jung. And Carl Jung was astounding. He studied under Freud. But he came up with some concepts that I think, we use to this day about the shadow and psychological processes and how we project our shadows onto other people. But most of all, what I find fascinating about him was that he used astrology, and he used astrology for his clients. He just didn't tell them, but he definitely had to have their birthdays and if he could get their times. And he would look at their charts, and people could not lie to him with him seeing the deeper aspect of who they really were. But at the same time, one of the things that I think was so interesting about him was how he looked at dreams. And he has this amazing book that I wish I still had. I lent it to somebody, and you know how that happens. You never get it back. But it's called Man and His Symbols. And that book talks about the symbols that are universal, that really connect us all through our dreams. And how our dreams are definitely trying to tell us something. This is our connection to our subconscious mind that knows all and is connected to everything. And this is what comes into play when we dream. So I want to put Carl Jung's chart up. So let's put it up here and let's analyze what kind of a person he was and how he became so prolific and such a deep thinker. So putting his chart up, he has a Capricorn ascendant. And you wouldn't think that this would be Capricorn simply because, this is a person that is not totally into business. But you see, Capricorn has two sides to it. And people don't realize there is a reason why Capricorn symbol is a goat with a fishtail. What does that mean? It actually means that that this is a creature that can exist in both worlds, on land and in sea. And so what's fascinating in Vedic astrology, the symbol for Capricorn, is a crocodile. Same thing, something that can exist in land and sea. Because we think of Capricorn as being the earthly materialism and ambitious driven person, but at the same time, they're rooted in their spiritual beliefs. I can think of so many spiritual leaders that have Capricorn planets. It's astounding. So that explains away the feeling of the past representations that we used to think about Capricorn. But Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, and his Saturn goes to the second house. So therefore, in the second house, it makes him very serious about finding who he really is, because the second house deals with our sense of self, because that emanates or begins at childhood. And that's what the second house can bring. But going ahead and looking forth at what really directed this man's mind and consciousness, it has to be the Neptune conjunct the moon. Neptune is conjunct the moon. They're in the fourth house, and it is in Aries. Aries is the sign of the pioneer, extremely progressive, thinking outside the box. So this is a person that had this capability, and Neptune brought out his intuitive powers, because this is definitely what he was all about, to tap into that spirituality and that intuition. And that is the Neptune moon, but very interesting. And there had to be a lot of secrets going on underneath the surface with his home and family. Probably what gave him the drive to better understand himself, because we don't go searching unless we have a reason to search. And so he was searching for this deeper essence of discovering what? His soul essence. That's the fourth house, the soul. And there resides the moon and Neptune. But obviously his mother had some secrets and things that were probably never known. But he sensed it and he knew it. So going to where his, probably I think his two most important planets are by the shape that they're in, being in Gemini. This is his Mercury and his Venus. And Mercury being in the sign of Gemini is extraordinarily intelligent. And actually they're very funny. They usually have a great sense of humor. I haven't heard this aspect of him, but I know that he was highly evolved and intelligent. And looking at this, they were in the sixth house. So there was a striving, there was a learning. The sixth house is relative to the sixth sign Virgo, which deals with analysis all the time. And the sixth house deals with counseling and helping people. And he was a therapist. So there you go with this Venus Mercury in his sixth house. But one thing that I find very interesting about this is that Mercury and Venus form a powerful yoga. Because when you see that Venus rules the fifth and Mercury come together with Venus in the fifth, this creates the ruler of the ninth with the ruler of the fifth and creates this really strong drive for spirituality, the ruler of the ninth. But realize that Venus also rules the 10th house and Mercury rules the 9th house. So Mercury rules Virgo and Venus rules Libra. So the ruler of the 9th and the ruler of the 10th, the 10th being an angular house, a Kendra, and the 9th house being a triconal house. Whenever you merge together a planet that rules an angle with a planet that rules a triconal, and the triconal houses are 1, 5, and 9, angular houses are 1, 4, 7, and 10. So with the 9th and the 10th coming together, this is actually the most powerful Raja Yoga you can have when you have the ruler of the 9th with the ruler of the 10th. It's actually called a Karma Dharma Adipati Raja Yoga because it's the most powerful houses. The most powerful, the 9th and the most powerful 10th. Most powerful triconal, the most powerful Kendra. Together in what? The sixth house of therapy, counseling, helping people. This is profound, and this was what he did. This is what he was searching for. But with the Neptune being with the moon, this brought out his search for spirituality and his search for truth. And realize another feature of this chart is that Jupiter is an aspect to the moon. It is an aspect to the moon by opposition, so it empowers this moon. And Jupiter rules the 12th house of dreams, spirituality, and it's casting its rays and light, empowering the moon Neptune. This is an amazing combination for such an amazing mind that search for answers beyond this world. Beyond this world. Yes. So I just wanted you to get a better feel for how to see different things and how planets are connected and what they reveal in a chart. Because this really does reveal the deepness and profound nature of this man, not to mention that he had K2. K2 is in the 9th house of spirituality and truth. Always searching, always seeking. By the way, wherever K2 is going to be where you feel like something's always missing, where something doesn't feel whole or complete. And since the 9th house is spirituality and truth, it's like where you're trying to fill that empty void. He can't get enough of learning more about the truth and spirituality. Always seeking, it's never enough. But also the 9th house is the house of Father. Realize the 9th house is the father, not the 10th in Vedic astrology. it represents that there was something missing in his relationship with his father. And seeing his moon with Neptune, we can only figure out that there was some kind of difficulty or unrequited things between his parents. So that's what you'll see with all that I am understanding in this chart. So one more thing, realize that Jupiter is in the 10th house. This man was very successful. And when you look at how Mars is placed, this is the last thing I'm going to leave you with, because when we think of psychic ability and intuition and psychoanalysis, I think of the 8th house. But I'm looking at his 8th house and it's empty. Now, the ruler of the 8th is the sun, which goes to the 7th house, which, by the way, if you have the ruler of the 8th in the 7th, there will be some issues to be worked out concerning what? Relationships. Because the 7th house is relationships, and the 8th house can deal with difficult situations, things that need to be worked on and healed. But here's the real test. Don't ever forget to look from Chandra Lagna. You will miss something if you don't look at the chart using the moon as the second ascendant, realizing this is how someone feels. So making the moon the ascendant, and remember that his moon is in Aries, so we make Aries the ascendant. Let's see where that Mars in Scorpio resides. In the 8th house from the moon. And this Mars is so intense because it is in the last degree of Scorpio, in the tail of the scorpion. It is Gandanta, so there's this powerful emotions that this man felt to heal and understand psychology and what makes people really tick. And realize just by in and of itself, Mars being in Scorpio, since Scorpio is the 8th sign, you're going to even have this representation and feeling sense just by Mars being in Scorpio. Search for understanding human behavior, what makes people tick. But being in the 8th house from the moon really gives this vast understanding of why he searched his whole life for spiritual meaning through better understanding human behavior, the mind, consciousness, and reality within the human being. Understanding psychoanalysis. This was his love. This is what he did. This is what he was fabulous with. And he left his mark on the world forever with his understandings and truths that he wrote about. So just see, these are just a few things that I wanted to point out looking at Carl Jung's chart, which was the great psychoanalysis incredible pioneer of his time. And one last thing, his moon being in the nakshatra Bharani represents a pioneer, the first to do something of his time, creating breakthroughs in awareness and consciousness. This is what he did. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like to learn Vedic astrology or learn more about me, you can go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Or if you would like to learn Vedic astrology, take this to the next level, check out my university website, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. And we have a new starting date for our university where everyone gets to start with the first live webinar, and it will begin January 14th of 2020. So thank you for listening and hope to see you there.